Welcome everybody. I just finished making the Illustrator and Rhino basic tutorial for getting started with paper painting. And I forgot to mention something really cool that I talked about in class last week. This work of vector tracing, manual vector tracing, depending on how you're doing it, what kind of image or graphic design you're working with, it could wind up being an awful lot of work, which I think is good because you get a lot of practice using the software platforms that way. But all of that work is additive. You're adding new vectors, new shapes. You're always adding some more information to the process. There is a special, very super cool tool in Rhino called Vectorize. It doesn't come with Rhino automatically. You'll have to acquire it using the command PackageManager. And then here in the PackageManager window, you'll search for Vectorize. And there are two things here, image vectorize or image vectorizer. I'm sure that's wonderful. I can't speak to that, but just vectorize, the one with, this is version 1, version 8.4. Obviously, this one has been worked on a lot. It's a great tool. If you select this and install, it'll ask you to restart Rhino. After you've done that, you can use the command vectorize, and just like the picture command, it'll open up a list of images for you to select. And before it generates anything, it'll ask you a couple of questions. Speckles, you can play with that. I think it's pretty self-explanatory what speckles aims to achieve. But threshold, if you hover over this bar, it says image brightness threshold. The same way that in Photoshop we dialed down the number of values in the posterize effect to 3 or 4, we're putting a really tight limit on how many values we have to work with. I think the threshold here, image brightness threshold, this is searching. If you increase this, it's searching for a very high differentiation between light and dark. So let's test this out. If I move this to a really high number, like 91%, and then say OK, I have to look for this object at the origin of our Cartesian plane. I'm going to use the gumball to drive this into position. And this is my 8.5 by 11 material boundary. So if I use the command move, I can move this object from this corner to this corner, and then with the scale command, I can, with base point, I can use the corner, and then the second point will be the other corner, and then I can start pulling this out until it approximates the material boundary, 8.5 by 11. All right, but let's look at these vectors, if you can see them. Maybe I should, let's see. Let me change layers. All these vectors were, because I was working on layer 2, they generated on layer 2. Let's say you need to move them over to a different vector layer, or vector color. Change layer is the command, and then you can change to something else. So now they're black, maybe they're a little more visible on the video. So, okay, the roof line, it got that. Why did it get that? Probably because there's a lot of black and a lot of white, but not a lot of gray. It definitely got the sky here, the division between the trees and the sky. It got this area here, which was between, gray and white, and these really, really strong value relationships here. It captured those. But there's a lot of really interesting stuff here that I think if we were able to see lines right here, we would know uh, that this is a cabin. With just this, I'm not sure that's enough information for us to discern what is happening there. That these lines remind me of pine trees. Okay, I could probably guess that those were pine trees. All this stuff, I don't really know. So let me Command Z out of all this. Let's do Vectorize again, and we'll use the same image, but I'll turn the threshold down now to like 20 something percent. It was sort of in the middle by default. So with a lower threshold, let's move this into position. And while I have it selected, I can see I'm working on layer 2. Let's change layer, go to default layer, use the move command to move it from this corner to the corner of the material boundary, then scale in the command bar. What happened here? Scale from this corner to the other corner, and then we'll stretch it out. Okay, so with a lower threshold, it's clearly drawing along boundaries of a greater dispersion of value differences. So let's look at the image over here. Yeah, this is black and gray, and there's a little bit of white there. It wasn't capturing all of this before, so increasing speckles and also decreasing the value threshold will provide more information. This is a faster way at first glance of doing all this vector tracing to produce your paper paintings. Where it might get complicated is, let's say that you just vectorized something, grab one piece of paper and throw it in the laser cutter, and it does this. Well, if you put another piece of paper on the other side of this, you'll have a fabulously complex image, but it's only two values. So you'll have to now think very carefully about, is it worth having a third value in there? And if it is, this is what you'll want to do. So clicking on any part of this vectorize object, it's all highlighting, it's all, one thing. It's not because it's all one curve. Like if I try to explode this, and then reselect it, it's still one thing. It's not that they're joined, they're grouped, however. So if I use the command ungroup and then choose just one object here, okay. So ungrouping will give you the ability to work now reductively, or not reductively, subtractively on this. You can start deciding, okay, all of these separate shapes here, I love that they're there. I don't need them though. They're not helpful for my project. And you can work subtractively instead of additively in the case of using the interpolate point curve tool or pen tool to trace around every division between separate values. Okay, the vectorize command is incredibly cool, and for depending on what kind of idea you have, it might be really, really helpful in saving time, production time. All right, enjoy, have fun. I can't wait to see your paper paintings.